President Trump warning the socialist running for New York City mayor to get in line as his radical agenda sparks concern on both sides of the aisle.
Whoever's mayor of New York is going to have to behave themselves, or the federal government is coming down very tough on them financially.
Are you committed to keeping New York as a sanctuary city?
Absolutely, because ultimately we've seen that this is a policy that has kept New Yorkers safe for decades. And it's a policy that we've seen ensures that New Yorkers can get out of the shadows and into the full life of the city that they belong to. And it's one that I will be proud to stand up for.
Host of the Janelle King Show, political analyst and former deputy state director of the Georgia GOP, Janelle King joins me now to discuss. Janelle, let's start there on the sanctuary policies have made New York City safe for decades. I guess Mamdani has never taken the subway if he thinks that, Janelle.
Yeah, you know what? What I continue to hear is the issue that we should all have with compassionate politics. And it's also something that is a running narrative that's coming out of the millennial camp. As a millennial myself, I see this from a very unique perspective. What's happening is you see young people who have lived a pretty cushioned life, a life that is pretty taken care of. They haven't experienced a lot of hardship. There may have been challenges. You may have seen that there is differences. There are people who seem to be doing better than others. There are people that seem to be doing worse than others. And now you're standing in this middle and you feel this compassion, but at the same time, you don't understand how we got here. This is the problem that we're facing. We have a group of young people that feel as though they can change the world for the better, make things good for everybody, but they don't understand how we got here. Pushing these type of policies, pushing this type of rhetoric ignores what's happening in reality. The fact of the matter is crime in New York is at an all-time high. This is not the time to talk about doing anything that's going to further increase those numbers.
Janelle, does Mamdani gaining a national spotlight actually help Trump sell his policies? Basically saying, hey, America, take a look at New York. That guy is where the Democrat Party is headed, and you don't want to be a part of that. Does that actually help Trump?
I do think that it does help Trump. I do. I think it helps the administration as a whole. I think it helps the party as a whole. However, what do we do with this opportunity? What do we do with this platform? We have to remember that the American people are now at a place where we've kind of been lured to sleep. We're off our duty. We're not looking at the details of these policies. We're not asking the tough questions like why and how. We're not driving people in that direction. Instead, we're trying to placate. We're playing these games. And I think that as a Republican Party, this is the time where we have to be the adult in the room. We have to be willing to hurt feelings because it's the right thing to do. And down the line, it would be better for all of us.
Mamdani doubling down on his push to change New York City's landscape, starting with plans to target the city's wealthy. Listen.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. I think I'm just naming things as they are. I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country.
Putting aside for the moment the absolute illegality of targeting white neighborhoods by name, I'm going after the white neighborhoods, which is literally what it says on his website. As you well know, the first thing that you learn in constitutional law is that anything discriminatory on its face is automatically illegal. Putting that aside for a moment, what do you make of his comment about billionaires in a capitalist country, a guy who said, I don't like capitalism?
You know what? It makes sense when you're talking about individuals who have been socialized in the socialist agenda from university, from the middle school education, from grade school and high school, where we've been pushing race, we've been pushing the differences. We're not highlighting the fact that there are a number of people who live in those communities. We're not highlighting the fact that communities that you refer to as white neighborhoods can be that simply because of the fact that there are more white people in America. However, when you break down the economics of that neighborhood, you may find that individuals who are of the Indian community, the Asian communities, are those who may be driving the economics, driving the revenue. So it's very ill-informed, but at the same time, to be able to have a conversation that is focused on race, to put on your platform that you are targeting communities based on race, and then try to tell us that it has nothing to do with race, shows us where we are. It shows us what happened in our education, but why our young people don't understand civics. And so I absolutely believe that this is going to fail. But I also, there's a part of me who feels like maybe it should see what happens when you allow this into the country on a very small scale, because God forbid it far extends past that this small city.
Janelle, I'm going to push back there. We really cannot have this in New York City. Please. I know you say it will be an interesting experiment. I'm going to push back and say, no, I don't want to do it. Janelle King, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, Todd. Thank you for having me.
Carly.